When my son told me I'd be moving to a nursing home, I smiled and said, "If that's what's best for you, sweetheart." He didn't notice the tremble in my hands when I folded my clothes into a small suitcase. "It's just for a little while," he said. "You'll have people around you. It'll be easier." Easier. That word has a way of sounding kind, but cutting deep. He thought I didn't see the exhaustion in his eyes, the guilt that crept behind every sentence. But I did, because mothers see everything, even the things their children are too afraid to say. The day he dropped me off, it was raining, the kind of rain that lingers, heavy and cold. He kissed my forehead, and I told him to drive safe. He promised to visit every weekend. I believed him, because mothers always want to believe. The nursing home smelled like bleach and old flowers. The nurses were kind, smiles rehearsed, voices soft, like people who had said good morning too many times in one day. My roommate, Marjorie, was 84 and half blind. She loved humming old jazz tunes and talking about her late husband like he'd just gone to the store. The first night, I couldn't sleep. The walls hummed with quiet sorrow, people whispering in their dreams, wheelchairs squeaking down the hall, someone crying softly behind a closed door. The next morning, I sat by the window. There was a small garden outside, with roses fighting to bloom despite the neglect. I thought about my own garden at home, the one my son said he'd take care of while I was gone. I imagined the weeds growing, the petals falling, the earth forgetting the hands that once loved it. Days turned into weeks. My son called less often. His visits became shorter. "Work's been crazy," he'd say, tapping at his phone while I tried to tell him about my day. One afternoon, I asked him if he still visited the house. He nodded, eyes darting away. "Yeah, Mom, everything's fine." I knew he was lying. I could feel it, the same way a mother can sense when her child is in pain. Then one day, I got a letter. No one sends letters anymore, so it felt like a small miracle. The envelope was old and smelled faintly of dust. Inside was a handwritten note. "Mrs. Daniels, I hope this reaches you. I used to live next door. Your house, it's for sale. I saw the sign this morning. I just thought you should know." I read the letter 3 times. My son had sold the house, my home, without telling me. That night, I didn't cry. I just sat there in silence, letting the truth settle in like dust on a forgotten photo frame. He hadn't meant to hurt me. I knew that. He was just tired. Tired of being responsible. Tired of feeling like I was one more thing to take care of. But love isn't supposed to be easy. It's supposed to endure. Weeks passed. Marjorie and I became friends. She told me stories about her youth, about dancing barefoot in her kitchen with the man she loved, about the baby they lost, about forgiveness that never came. I listened because listening was the only gift I had left to give. One evening, a young volunteer named Grace sat with me. She was in her 20s, bright eyes, full of energy. "You remind me of my grandma," she said, smiling. "She passed last year." I took her hand. "Then let me be your stand-in grandma for today." She laughed, and from that day forward, she visited me every shift she worked. Grace brought me little things, wildflowers from outside, cookies she baked, stories about her chaotic college life. She made me feel seen again. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel like I was waiting for something. Then one afternoon, while she was reading to me, my son walked in. He looked surprised, like he didn't expect me to be laughing. "Hey, Mom," he said, forcing a smile. "You look happy." I smiled back. "I am." We talked for a while, but there was a heaviness between us, the kind that no small talk could fix. Finally, I asked, "Why didn't you tell me you sold the house?" He froze. "Mom, I thought it was the right thing. You weren't coming back." "Wasn't coming back?" I said quietly. "Son, you put me here. You made sure I couldn't." His face crumbled. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I just couldn't keep up with the bills. I thought you'd understand." I reached for his hand. "I do understand. I always did. I just wish you'd trusted me enough to tell me the truth." He didn't speak after that, just sat there, eyes glistening, realizing how much distance silence can create. Weeks went by. He started visiting more often, sometimes with groceries, sometimes with stories from work. One day, he brought me a box. Inside was a framed picture of our old house, the garden in full bloom. "I bought it back," he said quietly. "Not the house, just the land. I'm planting your roses again." My hands trembled as I held the picture. "Why?" I whispered. "Because I realized it wasn't the house that was home. It was you." That night, I sat by the window again. The same rain was falling, but it didn't feel as cold. Marjorie was humming. Grace was writing her college essay beside me. And somewhere out there, my son was learning what love really meant. I used to think growing old meant losing everything, your house, your strength, your place in the world. But now I see it differently. Growing old just means you finally understand what was truly yours all along. One afternoon, Grace asked me, "Do you ever regret anything?" I smiled. "Regret? Maybe, but not love. Never love. Never love, even when it hurts, is what keeps our hearts young." A few months later, the nursing home hosted a small garden event. My son came. He planted new rose bushes with the staff. He looked over at me, and I saw the same little boy who used to run home from school with dirt on his knees and joy in his eyes. I realized then, maybe we never stop being mothers. We just learn new ways to love. As the sun set, he said, "Mom, I'm building a small place by the garden for you. You don't have to stay here anymore." I smiled. "Sweetheart, I'm already home. Wherever you find peace, that's where I live too." He hugged me for a long time. And in that quiet moment, surrounded by blooming roses and the laughter of strangers, I realized something. I wasn't placed in that nursing home to be forgotten. I was placed there so someone, Grace, Marjorie, even my son, could remember what love really looks like. Love isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the quiet act of showing up, the courage to say sorry, the strength to forgive, and the wisdom to let go, not because you stop caring, but because you finally understand what truly matters. So when people ask me now, "Do you ever wish things had been different?" I smile and say, "No, because every twist, every heartbreak led me right here, to this peace, to this garden, to this understanding." My son visits every week now. Sometimes he brings coffee, sometimes just silence. And in that silence, there's no guilt, no sadness, only love that has learned how to stay. I look out the window at the roses he planted and whisper softly to myself, He didn't send me away. He sent me back to myself.